My name is Brandon, and welcome to Audio Addiction, where you can find the latest album reviews, you can find our band interviews, and you can find live video of the concerts that we get. Very recently, we got Andres' full set, so definitely go check that out. Ironically enough, I am plugging it while I'm doing an album review of his in a minute. Also, check out our album review of Poeta. It should be going up around the same time as well, so definitely go check that one out as well. Awesome stuff. We're going to see Poeta this weekend. And the following weekend is Era and 4 Years Strong. I hope to get video of both of those if I can. So definitely stoked on that. So yeah, definitely go pick up Andres' record. If you go out and see him on tour, you can actually get the physical record. He has them. If you go to the merch table, he definitely has those, and he has this awesome shirt, which I will share. I was gonna actually wear this one, but I can't because, as you can tell, it's kind of going out. But you can pick up his salty shirt. I know I'm kind of plugging him, but it's definitely worth it. I feel like this guy is the next up and coming band, at least in my opinion. I loved his record, and I'm gonna kind of elaborate and let you know why I think it's good. But definitely hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure to hit that like button as well if you enjoy what I do. And tonight, we're going to be talking about Andres' new record, Strange Memories, on this nervous night.
Salty, baby, I'm salty. I'm not saying I'm sorry. I admit my ego's hurting. I remember sometimes you weren't that bad. Sometimes you made me happy.
So, as if I hadn't been plugging him enough, definitely was a fan of Andres for a while. Shout outs to Welcome to Limerick. They're the one who hooked it up. But he's been kind of quiet as of recently. He released Salty about a month ago, which was awesome track. So definitely go check that one out. But to me, it kind of reminds me of, if you haven't heard of him, it kind of reminds me of a mix between like Dance Gavin Dance, Sean, Drake, and like Eternity Forever. It has this sort of jazz, like soul kind of R&B vibe to it, but at the same time it kind of has post-hardcore sort of vibes to it as well. Very much in line with like DGD, like I've been mentioning. It kind of reminds me like DGD if they were more like Chon but without screams. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's definitely what I'm gonna go with. But it kind of, again, it has this sort of R&B soul vibe to it, which I really haven't heard from a lot of bands in a long time. So I was definitely keen to check this one out. It's definitely a banger, at least in my opinion, and I'm going to explain to you why. So the first track is Bad Boy, and it features So Much Light. Awesome band. I actually didn't find out about So Much Light until after Andres. I don't know if he posted about it, or I saw somebody post about So Much Light, and I was like, man, this guy's really good too. And he's actually on this track, which is awesome as well. But this track is definitely one of my favorite tracks, and I think it's a great opener track. Loving the instrumentation and the layering. I think whoever he went with, I think he did a really awesome job of just kind of creating something eclectic that you wouldn't typically expect. I definitely feel like Andres has a unique voice. Again, very R&B-ish, very soulful-ish, very much in line with like Johnny Craig. I wouldn't say like as gritty as Johnny Craig, but just kind of that soulful-ish, like R&B vibes. Almost a lot like Tyler Carter. Maybe not as talented, but definitely has that sort of R&B flavor and feel to his voice. I also feel like he has really great range. He's really got some parts where he kind of sings lower, and then he obviously has his regular range that he sings in. And I think his falsetto is where he really kills it. Definitely some of those runs and feels are really awesome throughout this record, especially in this track. Like I said, I hadn't heard of So Much Light up until this point. But I definitely feel like he was a great addition, and I feel like he paired very well with Andres in terms of vocally. I feel like they played off each other very well in terms of that. And I definitely feel like this track is a great opener, and I think it kind of gives you an idea of what it's going to sound like in regards to the album, and just I also feel like the singles give really good representation of what the album's going to sound like as well. So we'll move it into track number 2, which is I Don't Want to Settle. I definitely like his R&B approach to tracks. I feel like it's very refreshing. Also can definitely pick up on the more jazz vibes. I myself, being a guitar player, definitely is something that I feed on and something that I pick up on. But that's why I love bands like Chon, Polyphia, stuff like that. I love that sort of jazzy feel, especially Chon. They definitely incorporate a lot of jazz into their music. So I really enjoyed that. Also, I feel like this track has some of my favorite guitar riffs. And then I also feel like this. I was talking to my friend Ryan. I feel like this album is just an album you could put in your car, radio or CD player, whatever you have, and I feel like you can just put it on and just cruise. It just has this sort of layback, sort of quote unquote, what I'm calling Cali vibes to it. It just has this sort of coolness, this sort of smoothness to it that just makes you want to move and groove. But at the same time, it's just this album that just you can just put on and just drive to. I also feel like the vocal layering is great, along with the sort of harmonies. I feel like they don't feel out of place. They're just in that right spot, in that right moment in the track, which I really enjoy. While this track being a little bit slower, I still think it's a great track. I don't necessarily think I would put it in my favorite tracks. I think it's a really solid track without a doubt, but there's a lot of favorites on here, as you'll probably imagine. So we'll move into track number 3, which is I Know a Place. Definitely my favorite track. It just has this sort of pull to it. It's got this happy sort of like positive vibes to it. The guitar riffs in this track are just monumental. I think that the additions on the track, like being piano, just the sort of overall layering and production of this track just makes it just feel really good, and just has a great feeling to it. Definitely has this sort of, it has incredibly catchy vibes to it. This one is probably one of my favorites off the record, just because it's just so damn catchy. It just makes you want to move and groove. Just that piano, like lead piano, just really nails it. I feel like the drumming on this track is crazy awesome. There are some really slow parts, and then he just picks it up, and it's really awesome to see that. Again, really loving the jazz vibes, and I feel like in this album in particular, I feel like the jazz is more accessible for people who typically don't listen to jazz. I feel like this is a great introduction to that. I wouldn't say it's like incredibly crazy jazz mania, but I definitely feel like um, it definitely feels way more accessible and just has a sort of chiller vibe to it. And then I just feel like Andres kind of kills it on his vocals. He's just sonically all over the map. I feel like he really experimented on this one, and there's even parts where he kind of has some like grit to his voice, and just I feel like it feels very natural in that regard. There are some parts where it just goes really freaking wild, but I feel like it's very natural. It just has this sort of natural feel to it. It's very like emotional, but in that sort of natural state. So I really enjoyed this one. So we'll move into track number 4, which is Darth Binks. This was one of the singles. I think it was his first single that he released. Definitely another one of my favorites. And sort of again has those sort of jazz vibes to it. It just has this swing and like groove to it. This one being a little bit slower, but again, it still has this sort of like waltzy sort of like groove jazz to it, which I really enjoy. I feel like Andres kind of takes it down a notch and has this sort of smoothness to his voice, which I really enjoy. And then I feel like the vocal layering added this sort of this fullness into the chorus and in the verses, respectively. I feel like it just has this sort of like fullness to it, and again, it doesn't feel like too much at some points, and it doesn't feel like too little at others. I feel like it's just the proper mix of all those things together. Again, it has this sort of jazzy R&B, soulful vibes to it. Very smooth and just very awesome. And then I also really enjoyed the guitar solo and the bridge. I feel like that was kind of different and what I didn't expect to happen. So definitely enjoyed this track a lot. So we'll move into the next track, track number 5, which is Sunday School. Another one of my favorite tracks. I feel like this will resonate more with the audience now. I would say that this one kind of has some rap versus reminiscent of Will Swan from DGD. Speaking about DGD, I feel like this track is very much DGD esque. I feel like this one's the most acceptable to most people who like Dance Gavin Dance. This chorus is catchy as hell. As well as I feel like this track is vocally diverse again with the singing, the rapping, and just the different inflections he does in his voice. I feel like it just has this sort of vibe to it. I also am getting a lot of Chan vibes as well. Again, with the jazz thing, I feel like Chan is kind of locked and loaded with that in terms of this genre in that regard. The bridge is super catchy. Really enjoyed that, and then I really enjoyed the sort of extra productions, like either like the exotic sort of instruments that they use, like maracas and stuff like that. I feel like it kind of adds this sort of depth and something different, just sonically that I really enjoyed. So this one is a great one. Definitely go check out Sunday School. It's actually a redone track of his old band called Terra Alive. There's another track off this record. If you're a Terra Alive fan, you'll probably recognize which track it is. So definitely go check that one out if you haven't already. So we'll move into track number 6, which is Quinn. This is the second single, I believe, that was released. Again, another one of my favorite tracks. I think the grooves kind of continue on this whole album in general. I feel like this is, again, super groovy album. Very jazz influence, very R&B sort of soulish influence, which I enjoy. Really love the guitar riffs and the arrangement in this track. Me being a good guitar player and just watching him play live, I think really got me excited to kind of incorporate more jazz, stuff into what I write. Just as a fun sort of side note. But definitely something that I really enjoy, just being a listener of jazz. I really enjoyed that. Also enjoyed the sort of extra vocal layering throughout. I feel like again it adds this sort of nice touch to it. It feels very polished, very thought out. Another really freaking catchy chorus. He is the man of catchy choruses as of the moment. Really enjoying the sort of softer bridge and the softer approach in that. I think it's very awesome, and I also like Andres' vocal approach and just embellishment in this entire track. I feel like it feels very. It doesn't feel faked. It feels very invested, very emotional, which I really enjoy. And again, I'm enjoying all the extra production and layering throughout this record. I think it's been really solid, and the guy that he chose to do the record with, I think he really did just an awesome job and brought the best out of Andres, I would say, without a doubt. So we'll move it into track number 7, which is Mr. November. This one definitely has this sort of sad sort of vibes to them. Unlike a lot of the other tracks of the record, which is kind of good in that regard, because I think there definitely needed to be a change of pace, and I appreciate the change in this one. Also enjoying the sort of ambience of this track. I feel like a lot of the other tracks, I wouldn't say that they didn't have necessarily enough room to breathe, but I feel like this one has this sort of breath to it that the other tracks off the record don't have. I also feel like this one's more stripped back. There's less production. There's less of that sort of stuff, and it's more of sort of his vocals and just the like basic instrumentation behind it, like guitars, bass, and drums, which I really enjoy. I also like that the bass in this track is a little bit more predominant. I always love when, again, bands have that sort of feel to them where they add a lot of different elements. Like one part might have a little bit more guitar parts, one song might have a little bit more drum parts, the other track might have a lot of bass parts, etc., etc. Definitely really enjoy that. I also enjoy the sort of additional layering throughout this track. Like I said, I feel like they kind of refined themselves and took themselves a little bit back, especially in this track. But definitely enjoyed those sort of little sprinklings of additions in this. And I feel like this one is just a little bit more emotional than a lot of the other tracks. You could definitely feel the sort of emotion behind this one, which not like the other ones, but I feel like this one more than a lot of the other tracks off the record just has this emotional pull to it. So I really enjoyed that one. So we'll move into track number 8, which is Salty, like I mentioned earlier. It definitely has this sort of R&B sort of Chan vibes to it, which is great. I love this sort of guitar and vocal intro where it's just literally um, Andres' voice and just guitar, just in kind of this weird effect. I think it's almost like a flanger or chorus. It feels very awesome. It's kind of cool. I really enjoy that. I think it's a nice change up. Um, really liking this sort of vocal phrasing that he does in the second verse with the rapping. I feel like that's cool. I think that's definitely a niche for him, without a doubt. It's kind of got this sort of rap vibe to it, or like fast speaking, but that's pretty much rap in general. But really, again, I like his vocal phrasing and his styling. I feel like that's really awesome. And I feel like, for me at least personally, I've been listening to Salty for a really long time, and I cannot get this chorus out of my head, or the just a vocal melody. It just has a sort of pull to it, which I really enjoy. And I think that goes to show you've created a really song track is when you can literally hear the melody in your head as it's happening. So really enjoy that. I also enjoy that this one's a little bit more chilled, a little bit more laid back, just like Mr. November. It has this sort of chill sort of vibe to it. And then again, production on this is on point. I think again, whoever he went to really did an awesome job and just kind of solidified his sound and just made it really awesome. So we'll move into track number 9, which is La Habra. Definitely my favorite track off the record. I would definitely say that this is the black sheep of the record. It just has this sort of party, like pop R&B sort of vibes to it. It reminds me a lot of summer and just those sort of great vibes, cruising vibes. This one just is catchy as hell. Probably the catchiest track I've heard all year, without a doubt. It'll just get in your head, and just that overall, like, just synthy sort of sound that he has is very, just whoever made the backtrack for this knew what they were doing, and it's very catchy. It's very poppy, but I feel like Andres just knocked it out of the park vocally. You can definitely tell this Drake influence. If you watched our interview, you can tell that he's a huge fan of Drake, and you can tell that that was a huge influencer on him, especially in this track. Again, the production is off the tracks in this track. I feel like this one is the most solid track off the record. This one just grooves so freaking hard, you don't even know. And it'll just make you want to move. It'll just make you want to dance, and just it was just probably the most unexpected track off the record, but in the best way possible. I think he couldn't have just knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. It just has this sort of catchy dance vibes to it, that'll just make you want to move and groove. So I don't know how he'll do it live, if he ever does play it live, but that would be awesome to see, without a doubt. So we'll move it into the last track, which is Puzzle. Another one of my favorite tracks off the record. This one definitely has this more sort of jazz R&B sort of groove vibe. I still think they're keeping with the sort of catchy poppiness to it. Definitely reminiscent of Chon and DGD. And I like this sort of singing slash rapping combo. I feel like he just kind of kills it on both ends of the spectrum. So it's really awesome that, that happened, as well as another really freaking catchy track. Just so damn catchy. It's not even funny how catchy a lot of these tracks on this record are. It's kind of insane. Again, the production on this track is just ridiculous. Just with the overall, just the synths, the whatever they used, like exotic instruments, like again maracas, those sorts of things. I feel like they just kind of knocked it out of the park with that. And I think this is a great way to end the record, and I can't honestly say any more. So we'll get into the pros and the cons of this record. I would definitely say this album to me is a masterpiece, in my opinion. I just feel like he just absolutely killed it. All of these tracks just resonate with me so much. And I know for a fact that this record I'll be jamming so hard throughout this whole year, rest of the year. It just has this sort of like catchy, poppy, sort of jazzy R&B, anything. It's very accessible. I feel like a lot of people like this record. Not only just like post-hardcore people, but I also feel like people who like pop, people who like top 40s, people who like jazz, people who like R&B, people who like electronic. I feel like there's something for everybody on this record, without a doubt. And it really does show. I really think this is probably one of my favorite records of this year. Obviously, I'll let you know by the end of this year, but I don't think that this will be knocked out of my top 10 without a doubt. So definitely go pick this one up if you can. If you go to the show, definitely go pick up the physical, because I don't think he's ever going to make these again, if I'm not mistaken. So you can quote me on that, Andres. But definitely worth picking up, definitely worth listening to. It comes out April 7th, I believe, through digital retailers. So if you haven't already picked it up, definitely go pick it up when it comes out. I don't know if he has any pre-orders up or anything of that nature. That would be something that you would have to ask him, or I can ask him and let you know in the description. But my overall rating for Andres' new record, Strange Memories on This Nervous Night, I'm going to be giving it a 9.7 out of 10. This is probably my highest rated album, period, even from last year. This one's just hella worth listening to in that regard. I think it's just incredibly catchy, incredibly just thought out, very just different. I just got a really different flavor to it, and I highly implore you guys to go check this one out when it comes out in the next couple weeks. It's definitely worth picking up, without a doubt. If you can pick it up at a show, definitely go support Andres. But when this album comes out, definitely go check it out. It's well worth your time, honestly. I wouldn't be plugging this if I didn't think I loved it that much, which I obviously do. So definitely go check this one out. Go check out the singles. I feel like they are a really good representation of what the record kind of sounds like, in that regard. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of curveballs on this record, which is probably why I rated it so high, because it's just incredibly good, incredibly catchy, and just incredibly thoughtful, I would say, without a doubt. So if you enjoy Andres, or if you haven't heard of Andres, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to link you some tracks. Really awesome stuff. Definitely go check out Andres on tour now. Also go check out our live set if you get the chance as well. And if you enjoy what we do, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also make sure to hit that like button as well. It really does mean a lot. And thank you guys for your support. If you enjoy us a lot, we have a merch store. So if you'd like to pick up a shirt, a hoodie, whatever, it would mean the world to me. So thank you so much if you do indeed to go through with that. So my name is Brandon, and we hope you got your fix, and we'll be talking with you soon. Peace. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Of course, if you enjoy what we do, make sure to go check out the other series we do. We do album reviews, we do band interviews, and we do live videos, so definitely go check that out. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps out our channel, helps us grow. Make sure to hit that like button as well. Go follow us on social media. That's all down below. We try to keep that as updated as possible. We also made a new website where we'll be posting photos of upcoming concerts and stuff like that, which you can go check out at audioaddictionmedia.com, and come get your fix with us, guys. Talk to you later. Deuces.